Since several years, my laboratory has been interested in understanding the cellular and molecular basis of the most frequent form of inherited mental retardation called FragileX syndrome. This form of intellectual disability is very frequent in the population, since 1 in 2,000 boys and 1 in 4,000 girls are affected. The FragileX syndrome is due to a mutation of a protein called FMRP. FMRP is very important in brain development and regulates indirectly the synthesis of molecules which are involved in processes such as learning and memory and cognition. How absence of FMRP leads to the FragileX syndrome? So neurons communicate to each other through a very complex network of interactions and through small protrusions called spines. In the case of FragileX syndrome, those spines are dysmorphic, so they do not have a normal shape. And FMRP regulates the synthesis of proteins involved in the structure and function of those spines. Over the last years, our lab has been working intensively trying to understand the cellular and molecular basis of this form of intellectual disability. One of the key partners of FMRP is called SciFIP. What we have recently shown in this lab is that SciFIP, together FMRP, regulates the synaptic structure and function. Importantly, SciFIP has been recently linked to other intellectual disabilities such as autism and schizophrenia. So we strongly believe that our work will set up the basis for a better understanding of other neurological disorders such as I mentioned, autism and schizophrenia. I moved to Belgium 4 years ago. I was looking for a place where I could do my science, could develop my science with a good support. And as support, I mean possibility for receiving grants, as well as having an infrastructure to develop a science which requires multidisciplinary approaches. VIB gives what I was looking for to internationally recognized scientists. So it's really possible to develop and progress science at top level. In addition, my research was getting closer and closer to the clinic. So being in a faculty of medicine was also essential. The Catholic University of Leuven and the department that I joined was essential for me to make the decision because of the pioneer studies that Professor Herman van den Berger has done on FragileX syndrome. There is no cure for FragileX as well as for autism, but there are some behavioral symptomatologies that can be ameliorated by pharmacological or educational treatment. The work that I have been leading over the last 10 years in my lab is not only my work, so it's really a teamwork, and I'm very grateful to all the PhD and postdoctoral fellows that transit through my lab and are in my lab, since they really work with passion for science, with a lot of enthusiasm, and it's easy to see that because their experiments end on Saturday and on Sundays, and they are really eager to come to the lab and see how the experiment is moving. So I'm hoping that together with them we will progress science and hopefully find pathways that can be ameliorated in FragileX, autism and possibly schizophrenia.